social services, one of which is helping folks with employment opportunities and the various social services that are required around job seeking. A little bit about Humboldt County Library. In fact, let's try the hand thing. How many folks are from out of state? Raise your hand. And did anyone raise their hands? Because I don't see it. There's a hand. Okay, Christopher is from out of state. And Christopher, if you want to sample the chat, you could type in where you're from. We have one out of stater. And, okay, Georgia, great. So the rest of us are Californians, and we know what our budget is like and what it seems to hold for the future. Humboldt County is located 5 hours north of San Francisco. A lot of folks don't even know that that part of California exists, but here we are, 280 miles north, and we're about an hour and a half from the Oregon border. We have 10 branch locations and a bookmobile, and I work in the main library, but we try to coordinate throughout our many branches. We have a county population of about 130,000, and the city population here for Eureka is about 25,000. And our county is about 3,600 square miles. So we're a big county, and we have lots of area to cover. And throughout all of that, with the 10 branches and the bookmobile, we have about 70 full and part-time staff here at the main library. Oops, is that me ringing? I hear a telephone ringing. I'll just keep going. At the main library, we have 3 librarians and a few library assistants, and we try to cover the desk with the 3 adult librarians and a children's librarian and 1 library assistant. We provide probably the same sorts of services that you're providing right now, reference and information. We have some public computers and internet access. We have Wi-Fi. We provide computer instruction only when I'm able to get high school students or senior volunteers to assist us with that. Otherwise, we don't have the staff to provide that computer instruction. We'll get more into that as we go because that is a part of employment seeking. Interlibrary loans, local history programs, the usual adult and children's programs, all of those we provide. And those are the things you would expect, of course, from a library. Our collections are similar to yours, fiction, nonfiction, reference, ebooks, local history. We do have the online databases, which we provide some instruction for on an as-needed basis. And then, of course, the magazines and newspapers, we have those. We also have the audio-visual materials. Some of those require assistance with those machines as well, as you can expect. So we're running throughout the library trying to cover quite a few bases. Our mission statement is similar to that of libraries throughout California and even in Georgia, I'm sure. It's to provide resources and opportunities to support lifelong learning, local heritage, and the cultural, recreational, and information needs of our communities. A few others that you can refer back to say the same sorts of things. We have San Jose, who is also fostering lifelong learning. In Ohio, we've got the pursuit of knowledge, information, education.
Open audio control panel.
And then we move on. Those are the traditional services. Now we're moving into non-traditional library services. The expectations seem to grow year by year. Some libraries are providing career centers and job information. Some are providing computer training, maybe even have a computer lab. Passport services are offered by some. The Distribution Center for the IRS publications. This has kind of become a default for us, and I'm sure for many of you as well. In fact, we're at a point now where the post office comes to us to pick up all of their IRS publications when they run out. You can't even get hold of anybody at the local IRS office here in Humboldt County. So people depend on us for that. We provide some assistance with tax services through VITA, And we assisted the FCC recently with the conversion to digital television transition, providing instruction to folks on how to do that. Recently, the state auditor was looking to fill a commission, and they asked us to provide access to the applicants for that. And overall, we're providing the public broadband access for our community because no one else is doing that. We've also become de facto daytime shelter for some of the homeless and folks in our community who have nowhere else to go during the day. Just to give you a quick shot, this is right behind our library, and every morning the folks get up from their slumber, and a lot of them have been up all night either for safety reasons or weather reasons, and they come to our library to find safety or warmth or to stay or to get into the bathroom, maybe clean up a little. So we are providing assistance to some of those folks as well. Now, as all of this is happening, the government agencies around us, both federal, state, and local, are promoting online access, and they see all of this as a great thing. And for a lot of us, it is a great thing. It's very easy. It makes it readily accessible. We don't have to stand in lines. But there are a lot of people who don't have the kinds of skills that are required. And in fact, with social services and employment, a lot of folks either don't have the computer or don't have the skills or don't have the broadband. They may have 56K. So some of the agencies that we're finding are referring to us more and more are the EDD, the Employment Development Department, the DMV, the Internal Revenue Service, contacting legislative representatives. If people want to have a voice in the government, they're encouraged to email their representatives. For government job applications, private applications, Social Security, the Department of Education, of course. We've got especially first-time college applicants. They're supposed to do all of this online. And where are they going? They're coming to the library. Social Security was very interesting. They came in, they sent a representative over to drop all their information off about the online access, and they explained that they were really promoting this, and they hoped that we would help promote this. And of course, we said we would because that's what we do. We provide access to information. But they also, expected some assistance, at least getting the folks online. And I asked the representative, I told them we were happy to do this, but I did want to know, do they have a public access computer in their lobby? And of course, the answer was no. So again, there are assumptions made about what we can and cannot do. Other social and financial needs that we're finding we're doing at the library, of course, are employment searches. And employment searches, is very interesting because if you haven't had to do an employment search at a large corporation, often retail, minimum wage, but what a lot of people are doing, you have no idea of the trauma some of these folks are going through. It isn't a matter of filling out a simple, maybe 2-page form any longer, 4-page form. These are often connected with a psychological test of some kind, which is, they can run up to 30 pages. The employment searches themselves can take or the employment applications for these kinds of jobs, let's say Kmart, Sears, Petco, they can take up to 2 hours for some of these people to do, and maybe even longer. In our library, because of the turnover and the numbers of computers that we have, we only allow 30 minutes on a computer. How many of you allow 1 hour or more on your computers? Can you raise your hand? Okay. Let me look here. I want to see how many. Okay. So there are still quite a few of you that have, looks like less time. The others, the folks who have not raised your hands, okay, those who raised your hand, go ahead and put your hands down. Are there any others who are allowing 30 minutes? Maybe others don't have access to computers. That's a possibility. Are there any libraries who don't provide computer access to the public? Let's see that. No, looks like everybody is providing. Okay, so as I said, we're providing 30 minutes because the turnover is constant. From the time we open till the time we close, our computers are being used. We do have one computer that is a 1-hour computer. We allow sign-ups on that for up to a week in advance, and that's booked a week in advance. As soon as we put the sign-up sheet for that out, it's booked. We have 2 other computers that we allocate to the express line, we call it, which allows people to go up for 15 minutes and do something quick. Sometimes they're just checking their email, so we allow that. But the employment searches, it's going to take them much more than 30 minutes. And the employment training, now, how many of you are, raise your hand if you're familiar with Elevate America? Let me see. Okay. It doesn't appear that anyone is familiar with Elevate America. Elevate America is offered through the Employment Development Department, and what it is a certification program and a training program designed by Microsoft, in conjunction with Microsoft, to provide 1 million training vouchers to the states. Now this is national, for no cost, to access Microsoft e-learning. It's a self-paced online training for courses and select certification exams. These are all available. These vouchers are available through the EDD, and some of this I'm going to get into a little bit more, but the only way to find out about some of these things is to have that collaborative effort. So anyway, again, if they wanted to do that kind of training here at the library, it'd be very difficult because they don't have the time necessary on our computers. So again, other things that tie into the social needs are banking and bill paying, apartment hunting. People have to come in, get credit reports in order to get an apartment sometimes. We try to help them with setting up cell phones. I know that, let's see, not Yahoo and not Hotmail, but Gmail is now requiring confirmation with a cell phone number. People get to that point, they don't have a cell phone number after they've tried to set up an email address. They don't realize that with Gmail, that's now a requirement. Looking for jobs on Craigslist. People will get them started, they get onto Craigslist, and then they don't have an email address for a response to come back to them. So then we're back to point 1 and trying to set up an email address, and they have maybe 5 minutes left on the machine. And with these 30-minute machines, we only allow once a day. So that means they have to come back the following day. How many folks have actually visited the local employment development department? Okay, great. So there are a few of you who have gone over there, and that is one of the agencies that we have visited, arranged a tour to go over and speak with them, see what they actually had available, and see whether we were duplicating efforts, whether they were doing something better than we were, and how we could work together. How many have invited agency representatives to come over to the library to see what you actually have available? Raise your hand. Okay.
For the job,
I'm thinking that I'm seeing probably the hands of those who went over. It looks like a lot of you probably reciprocated there. Okay, so the other thing that I was talking about was this access to broadband. Would you raise your hand if you're still operating on 56K? Oh, well, you're lucky because we still have branches that are operating 56K. No T1 line, no DSL. And the patrons, especially the very rural, the patrons are still trying to use the library for their employment searches and using 56K. Now, obviously, the EDD office does have better than 56K. They also have 18 computers with an assistant there, and they provide resume paper and lots of other things that we don't provide. So we try to make that information known. So the access to the computer, which is required for a lot of the job seeking and job services today, requires a little bit of knowledge. You know, they don't know how to, we get people who don't know how to use a mouse. A lot of the folks in our area, anyway, you know, have come from the timber industry or fishing, or they are older, or they, you know, have been in a job that didn't require a computer for years, and then they were laid off. So there are other resources that they need in between looking for the job and filling out the application. So we have to help them with a lot of those in-between kinds of things. There was a survey done last April by the Library Research Service, a 60-second survey of about 500 different individuals. That's who responded. And 70% of the 500 respondents said that they were seeing people come in for computer use. And about 66%, let's see, I think it was about 66. Yeah. 66 were using it for job applications, I believe. And if you take a look at this survey, there's, again, the increase in the library use in the last 12 months has been for computer usage. There are lots of other interesting statistics there, and you can go online to take a look at this survey. But as you go through, you'll see that what the folks are coming in for, the individuals working in the libraries, librarians and staff, feel that they need additional professional training in order to help these patrons. I mean, the bar is way out there. So the question is, do they need the professional training in that particular area, or do we need the professional training on how to refer out? And I believe, it's my belief and it's our philosophy and policy here, that if someone else is doing it better, we need to be making the referrals to those who do it. In Humboldt County, we have well over 200 nonprofits, and we also have many, many government agencies. And many are duplicating services. And rather than spread all of this out and yet us take another slice of it, we want to know who is best for us to refer to and what can we refer them to. We try to do surveys and tours and invitations to other agencies at least monthly, if not biweekly, so that we can get word out there about what we are able to do, and so that we can really see what is out there for our patrons. And as librarians, it's difficult, I think, for us, because we have always been the providers. And if we can't do something, then we try to find a way that we can do it, even if the budget's being cut, even if our staff is being reduced. So there are only two things that we cannot do when we are faced with this increasing need for services that are beyond the scope of our ability. One is to do everything, and the other is to do nothing. And so what are we going to do? Best thing to do is to triage our services. So that's what we are trying to do here at Humboldt County. And there are a number of ways to do it, but the choices that I've made is to first do an analysis. What are we doing here at the library? And what are we doing well? We provide basic instruction on computer use just to get someone started, but as I said, we don't have, unless I have volunteers from the high school or seniors to help people, we don't have the staff to really show folks how to use the computer. We're distributing the tax publications. We're helping to design resumes simply by putting links to resume templates on our computers. And we show folks how to get the email accounts set up. And we try to mediate on some of the social networking tools. But we can only do so much. So we determine what we are doing well, what we could do better, and our staff limitations. And there is a library services analysis, I think as part of the, I've sent that, but it is, I don't think that's going to show, is it, Mary? Let's see. But anyway, there is a library services analysis that I provided that you can use to determine what is being done at your library. And
Kitty, I'll just interrupt you for a minute. We put the two documents that you sent, the library services analysis and the community social services analysis. Both of them are in the course.
Okay,
all they have to do is go to the page for this meeting and they'll find both of those documents.
And
all
Kitty,
right, wonderful.
Kitty, this is Nancy speaking.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, while we've got you interrupted, I want to mention that someone seems to be breathing kind of heavily into the mouthpiece. If you think it might be you.
No, I hear it too. It's not me.
Maybe not. If whoever's in the room, maybe you could mute your phone or cover your mouthpiece. Thanks. That's all.
Thanks, Nancy. Okay. So along with the library services analysis, the next thing that needs to be created is the social services analysis. And this is the analysis for what is being done in your community. And to do this, you need to survey your own community, your social service agencies. Oops. Do you hear that?
Absolutely. Hi, somebody's got something on that is causing some background noise. Please, everyone, if possible, if you don't need to speak right now, mute your microphone until you do. Thanks.
Okay. So the social service analysis requires that you seek out lists of the various agencies in your community. You can get them from your own county social service department. They will have both nonprofit and government agencies. Read the newspaper articles and look at some of the agencies that are being highlighted. Contact your local area agency of on aging. They are an excellent group to collaborate with. And search the internet for local listings. We have something here in Eureka called the Humboldt Community Switchboard, which when you go in there and do a search on jobs, just putting in jobs, you'll come up with 17 different agencies. And then after you've identified these agencies, contact them by phone, arrange a tour of the facility for you and your staff. We have found that assumptions are not good. We had some assumptions in the past about agencies, what they did, what they didn't do, and we are always surprised that assumptions are wrong. So make sure that you actually go on site and invite those folks to come over and visit your resource or your library. And then begin the collaboration. This is just a few, obviously, of the private, government, and nonprofit agencies that are available. The EDD is our biggest for jobs. We were surprised at how much they actually offer. We really had no idea. For us, it was not a viable alternative to try to set something up here at the library. We looked at the possibilities of grants and what we could provide, but when the EDD within 1 mile provided so much more, and we're so much better at it, and then branched out with other resources from their own agency, we felt that it actually would be doing a disservice if we only let the patron know, or if the patron came to believe that what we had was it. So we felt it was better to refer out on that. And Even just recently, well, yesterday we had a visiting group, and it was the Tri-County Independent Living Group, and they came here to show us assistive devices. It was very interesting because we learned a lot about the assistance they will actually give with job seeking and applying for Medicare and Medi-Cal and those sorts of things, which again, we sometimes get folks here in the library requesting. And then most of these, this is just a very small portion of the nonprofits and groups that you can work with, but the one in particular that I'm still working with is the social work internship from the university. There's paperwork has to be filled out, so we don't have all of that done. But one of the things that we want to try to do is establish 1 day a month, 1 day a week, 1 day every other week, something where there is someone here representing the social work and social services aspects of our community and referring people and helping them navigate, coming on site, not just requiring folks to go to an agency, but actually beginning the process here and then helping them move on. Because we are the first responders for a lot of these people. They come here and they want to know what they can do for their particular circumstance. So why create these partnerships? Well, because of our budget limitations, in order to utilize the professional skills and experience of others. We cannot do everything. We don't know everything. We may be able to find the information, but to actually carry it through, there are others out there who can do it better. There's no sense in duplicating the effort. We need to look at what we can do well and improve upon that and then build further on it. For instance, the one thing that we have found no one else out there is doing is the computer instruction, free computer instruction. So that's why we do try to bring in volunteers to help with that, because it isn't something that the county is looking at doing or that any nonprofit is doing. We had been told about 2 nonprofits that were supposedly doing this, and when we went to their site and spoke with them, it wasn't the case at all. They don't do it. So we've yet to find anyone who actually does that, and it's a very big piece that's missing for folks who are job seeking and looking for results with these other social services. So we need to look at the paradigms of service. It's changed from the old internal independent, where we provide patrons just the resources available within our library, or we make them available only here in our library. And we relied on our knowledge of the collection and the library services to a new external collaborative paradigm where we provide the best resources, referring to the best resources, even though they are outside the library. And I know many of you do that now. The key is to establishing a point of contact and having that person at the other agency being readily available to help you transfer that patron from the library to what they need over in their agency. And this circle demonstrates that we are here very central, and we have books and databases, and we have computers and periodicals, but outside there are others that maybe can provide better information or a better interaction for the patron. Branching out just a little bit from jobs, we have a group here that will provide one-on-one medical research and information sessions with individuals, and we refer out to them quite often, although we have, very good resources on medical needs. And in order to do that, I do use a lot of, in retail it's called point of sale, but it's point of use brochures and pamphlets. So by the medical books, I will have brochures about this particular agency. In the employment book resume areas, I will have brochures about the EDD or about private employment agencies or anyone else that might be helpful to individuals. The solution to triaging. I've said it several times as we've gone through, and it's collaboration. So we have other solutions in collaborating that you can begin to think about. Create a bulletin board if you haven't done that, dedicated just to employment, training, and social services. As I spoke before about the social service worker in the library, establish a service desk for referrals for employment, training, and social services. And you can create a print directory. This is something I would like to work with our social work intern, once we get one, in developing a print directory. The Humboldt switchboard that I mentioned before is an online database, and librarians often use it, and so does the community. But there are people who would not know how to use this database or even know that it exists and what the purpose would be. They need to, I've spoken with United Way, who oversees this, and they need to make something print available from this great database that they have, so the folks who need it most can flip through it. And not everything online serves the people who need it most. And then lastly, and this is something I've been working on, is sponsoring an employment, training, and social services agency fair. This has been an interesting process. I spoke with probably about 18 agencies. Most of them were, well, all of them at that point were nonprofit. And then I got to the government agencies. The nonprofits were all on board. They know exactly what's going on. They go out and do these outreach fairs quite often. We were just trying to bring it into focus just in the library. So what I will suggest to you, though, is to expect the unexpected and be prepared for hurdles. It's, as I said, it's been interesting because I've hit some roadblocks. And the roadblocks, actually, our CAO was very excited about the idea. And he said, go for it. I sent him a letter explaining what I wanted to do. And he said, you know, he said, don't need clearance from the supervisors, but, you know, just suggest to them what you are planning on doing. And then I contacted some of the department heads within the county. And that's when I hit some of the political realities and a lack of understanding about what libraries do and about what's going on in our community. Some of the, in a couple of the departments, what I heard, and these are exact quotes, is, why has this come up? Someone else said, this is well intended, but well beyond the library's scope of expertise to initiate. And another, what brought about this well-intended event on your part? And I thought, oh my goodness, these folks really don't have a clue about what's going on here in the library, about what we are dealing with. And like I said, these are more of the public agencies. So what we decided to do is get together. I put the event on hold because I didn't want to step on toes. And we got together, and I have been meeting with the critical players, explaining and educating about what happens here at the library on a daily basis. I've used real-life examples and prepared background documentation, sent that to them before we met, and provided a bibliography of recent studies and reports. And I believe that those are also provided for you in your class, Moodle class. And then I asked whether I could participate on relevant committees and task forces in the library or in the community, particularly in the county, in order to have the library considered as a social services provider. Because the library truly is off the radar when it comes to social services, and that includes job searching. If people want to distribute materials, or if they want to send folks to, quote unquote, use a computer, they think of the library, but they don't think of everything else that is required once the patrons come here. once the clients come here. I have found that, again, assumptions are made about what we can and cannot do. Assumptions are made about the clients themselves. County forms, even for job seeking, for voc rehab, they are designed by folks who make assumptions about computer use, about email, about accessibility issues. So I am now on several task forces, and I have to tell you that it has been very enlightening, and it's been, I think, the beginning of a very good relationship. I was told after having several of these meetings that they were completely unaware of what was happening at the library, and I even got an apology saying that they are sorry that they had not included us in a lot of what was going on regarding social services. So it's been good. We're developing a better relationship, and eventually we will have that outreach fair here at the library. So it's just taken a little time, and I feel better even about our county-wide relationships than I did before. So first of all, recognize your role as the first responder to the patron's needs. You have to have your ongoing comprehensive knowledge about what you've got in your library and then what's available out in the community. And you can go ahead and provide those established services and make referrals, but acknowledge your limitations. I still believe that many of us who've been librarians for years, and even the new librarians, believe that we have to provide whatever it is the patrons need. We don't have to provide it here, but we certainly can provide it by referring out. So seek alternatives. Don't try to do everything. Improve and create the services that you find are not available elsewhere. That way you'll be focusing and not on the true community need and not just duplicating. And then don't stress, collaborate. What I've provided here is just a selection bibliography.
Somebody's got something on. Maybe that's a Lee. Here, let's mute her. All right, I just muted Lee. Go ahead.
Okay, sounds better, I think. All right. These resources are excellent. And if you do begin any kind of collaborative effort or need background materials, they focus on what has been going on and what is continuing to transform libraries today. Just for a minute, I would like to know if there is anyone who feels they cannot think of 10 agencies that they could partner with right now. Is there anyone? I'm going to look and see if you don't think you can come up with 10, because you should be able to probably come up with about 20. Okay. So good. At least you can come up with one. Does anyone have an idea of the first agency? And you can chat in here. The first agency they would like to begin collaborating with to outsource. Yes, I see Christopher. Yep, EDD, labor. Absolutely. Now, Renee, you mentioned that one-stop career center. Do you have one of the job kiosks in your library? That's true, Renee. Okay, you don't. When I first started here, we had, yes, keep coming in with those, the workforce development services, good. When I started here close to 3 years ago, we had it was called a one-stop job kiosk, something like that. And it wasn't working. It hadn't worked in months. And I tried to get EDD over to fix it, and they kind of blew us off. It had sounded, I think they must have obtained a grant, to get these and put them in libraries. And once they were in the libraries, they just sort of let it go. So that's another problem I see. It's, you know, you get a little piece of the action, but you don't get the full grant or the full amount of money and staffing to do these things. Then, you know, they end up brushed off over in a corner. Same thing. I think there was a grant. There were some career books that we had, but they were old. Oh, you have the Job View. Millie has the Job View kiosk, and it's been used all the time. That's great. You must have somebody maintaining that from EDD, or would that be probably from EDD? Okay. Are any of you, you can raise your hand or feel free to chat, or I think there are some folks on phone too. Are any of you sitting on any committees now in your county with regard to employment services? Whether it's voc rehab.
Can you hear us on phone?
I can hear.
Okay. Basically, yeah, I'm working on the WorkNet and Job Force Leadership.
Society Collaborative. Okay. And finally, because I know it is time to end, I would just like to see how many of you are feeling a little overwhelmed by what's being requested of you by patrons and the community, and whether you whether you're feeling a little overwhelmed or your staff is feeling overwhelmed. Very interesting. Well, do you have any questions for me? Nola, you're by yourself, yeah. Low computer skills, I see, Ellie. A lot of job seekers with low computer skills. And we are, I think, as a group, you know, hesitant to say no or look for help elsewhere. Staff cutbacks. Yes, we are. We are all having that. Stop questions on how to use the computers and set up emails. Yes, I joked with some of the social workers, telling them that I think they should begin giving out a degree in library school for an MLSW. So you can just combine the both of them. Get your library degree and your social work degree at the same time. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Donna.
Yes.
And I don't want to, I know you have a few things you need to finish up with before everyone goes.
Just general housekeeping. But first, I'd really like to thank you, Kitty, for all the information you've presented with this. A reminder to everyone to check back on the home page for the course, and you'll see copies of the two profile surveys that she submitted. So those are available, as well as the bibliography. And you've really just given us some great ideas, just great practical ideas on how to go about setting up these collaborative partnerships. I encourage everyone to just work smarter, not harder. And if you can work with other agencies to get the services that the patrons really need, it will ease your workload as well. It takes a lot of work on the front end, but afterwards the payoff is high and great. So thank you so much, Kitty, for the information. And
thank you.
Thanks. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary again, Mary Ross, and she's going to do the last-minute things with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you, Kitty. And Donna mentioned that resources will be available on your course page, your Moodle course page. And we just had a request to put Kitty's slides on that. We can also do that very easily. So Nancy will be able to add her slides. There is a discussion forum set up in the course, and you can go ahead there and you can add your comments on ways that you want to apply what you learned today. The archive of today's WebEx meeting will be available, the documents will be available, and the slides will be available. So thank you all for participating in today's meeting, and continued good luck with your course.